In this video, we are going to break down some of the best flexibility exercises to help people out with tumbling, and more specifically back handsprings, back walkovers, front handsprings, and things that involve quite a bit of a big arch that I know many people in cheerleading, dance, gymnastics, acro, circus are struggling with. And so we're going to break down, the shoulder, thoracic spine, hip, all the different things that I think are really helpful to get a nice even bend for two reasons. One is to make that tumbling really effective and great, and two is to protect someone's lower back from getting a bit too much pressure. So we're going to break all that down in this video, but first, before we dive in, we have a couple really important things to go over. One is that we are in the final weeks of our big giveaway. So we are giving away free tickets to the 2023 Shift Symposium, but we are also giving away someone a free course of their choosing. So one person who goes down to the comment section and puts hashtag 24shift, at the end of the month of May, we are going to pick a winner and we're going to give away that giant grand prize to everybody who's been so awesome here in the Shift community on top of the YouTube videos and commenting and sharing their feedback. We really appreciate it. We want to give away something awesome for the community before we close up this next round of videos. So make sure you jump down to the comment section, put in hashtag 24shift. If you haven't been back to the channel in a while, welcome back. It's great to see you, but just go ahead down there, hit the notification bell, the subscribe bell. Make sure you kind of sign up for all the alerts, because every time these new videos come out, it's really good, helpful information for free, but also it helps you get more chances to enter that giveaway. So now with that in mind, let's break down into what these best exercises are for back handspring flexibility. All right, so whenever I talk to people about the spreading of the bend, right, getting the entire back to arch, the lower back, the upper back, we have to realize that we want to share the bend across all the areas. The first area I find that is not really worked on is the thoracic spine. So this upper back area, kind of the middle rib area, it's oftentimes not very painful, but it's usually very stiff in people. And so what we want to do first is really make sure we are opening up that upper back. That will take pressure off the lower back, but will also help someone get their arms more open, okay? If the arms can't go overhead, sometimes people go right away to doing some aggressive flexibility work, and I do think that's important, but if the upper back can't bend, the shoulder blades can't move, which means the arms can't go fully overhead. So someone who's chronically kind of scratching their head about why they're not getting better back handsprings, walkovers, bridges, things like that, it oftentimes comes in thoracic spine. So we want to screen this out first, but then make sure we're doing some exercises to specifically open up this upper back. Another one that I really like here is going to be a hands and knees version, where they're going to be opening and rotating their back, looking under their armpit, trying to find where that ceiling is, right? So a combination of arching over the upper back, extending, and then rotating as well are the two keys. The same joints that open arch-wise are the same ones that rotate. So if we can extend the back, we'll also gain rotation, but if we rotate the upper back, we can oftentimes also gain that back bending motion. So thoracic spine is the first thing to really work on and really focus on. I like about 2 sets of 10. The nice slow 5-second tempo every single day if possible, but 5 to 6 days per week is what we're looking for. And the common errors I see here, one is that when someone does this exercise, they're not bending like a reverse sit-up, they're rolling up and down, massaging the upper back. And that can be helpful too, but in this specific instance, we're trying to open the upper back up, open the shoulder blades up. So we really want to be pivoting over one central spot. Squeeze the core, really open the upper back. You won't feel this crazy stretch, but you'll definitely feel quite a bit of stiffness if someone's tight there. And so that can be the biggest thing they can kind of do. So just rolling alone probably won't do it. We want to do both. The second, which kind of comes with why I shared these exercises, is only doing passive things also won't change that, right? Many times we just do this opener and then go to try to do our exercises, but we want to do actual active motion here. So we're using the shoulder blades, we're using the lower back muscles to help us open up all the way. That's super duper important. And the third thing I often see as a problem is that oftentimes they are not really changing things in their daily life. Unfortunately, what happens is they work a day job, they work a desk job, they have daily life requirements. They don't ever change the fact maybe they sit all day, or they don't ever get up from their desk, right? Or they're not doing a standing desk, sitting desk combination. So what happens is they sit or they're leaning over their computer for 4 to 5 hours per day, and then they go ahead and they try to just do a couple foam rolling exercises and do back handsprings. It doesn't really work out well. So make sure you're also changing your daily life. I don't think sitting's bad for you, but I do think it's really important to take short breaks throughout the day, get up, move around, do some of these exercises throughout the day, and try to work on the opposite motions to try to really encourage someone to stay there and not just passively do these things. The second thing that I really like along with the upper back is kind of what I alluded to, is that sometimes when the upper back is stiff, right, these shoulder blades won't move and the arms won't move. Well, sometimes the muscles underneath the armpit are also very stiff as well, the lat and the teres major. In athletes that are very active, sometimes these muscles get overworked with the sport they're doing, and as a result, it gets extremely stiff. Sometimes young athletes are growing, and sometimes that makes it really hard for these muscles to stretch. But often, like I said, sometimes someone who's a little bit older, they kind of work a desk job, they don't really do as much activity, they're not stretching particularly overhead as much. If they get into circus or gymnastics or handstands for the first time, they oftentimes have not not worked on the soft tissue flexibility of these muscles, and they kind of creep up to kind of come up to haunt them. They can't get their arms over their head for a bridge or a back walkover or something like that. So I really like just doing 30 to 60 seconds of foam rolling every day. I also really like doing this PVC stick stretch where we're turning our palms up, our elbows are much closer than our hands. We're rounding the upper back and focusing on stretching the lats and the teres major up on top here. So these two are kind of basics. I think that every day someone should be doing 30 seconds of this and 30 seconds of the stretch. I don't think it needs to be crazy hard, doesn't need to be super painful, which are some of those errors, right? Going too hard. I think it just has to be consistently done every single day as part of your warm-up routine to make really good instances. So 30, 60 seconds, 2 sets with a 1 to 3 second tempo, 6 to 7 days per week as part of your warm-up routine. Again, not going too hard, only doing it 1 to 2 times per week probably won't cut it, right? And only doing soft tissue work. We want to actually move these over into this third piece, which is some sort of active eccentric, right? So jumping up to a low bar and slowly lowering all the way down for a 5-second lower with a 5-second bottom hold. That's going to be super helpful to help actually elongate some of the muscles over time. So this kind of soft tissue work up here and this kind of stretching up here, they calm muscles down, they make them relax a little bit, which is great, but they don't actually elongate muscles. So we want to add in this little repetition of eccentric chin-up lowers too. So maybe 30 seconds here, 30 seconds on a stick stretch, and then 5 reps of a 5-second lower and a 5-second bottom hold. That will really help on the second piece, right, which is the shoulder soft tissue. So here we have thoracic spine we've covered, the shoulder soft tissue we've covered as well. And then beyond that, many times people are just thinking about what's above the road, but there's actually quite a bit going on below the lower back we have to think about as well, okay? So we really want to make sure that the hip flexors, the quads, and the groin in particular are very, very loose, because what that allows us to do is open our hips up fully and squeeze our glutes and open the hips into that back handspring or a bridge or a front walkover or a front handspring. If we don't have our hips helping out, we are putting a lot of pressure on our lower back, and we oftentimes have that little bit of a TP kind of bend going on where the lower back is kind of hinging quite a bit to make up for the lack of hip flexibility. So I see this all the time in someone who has, you know, maybe they're growing a lot, they have really stiff groin muscles, they have really stiff hip flexor quads, just because those bones are growing faster than they can kind of keep up with. Or again, maybe it's someone who's older and has not really done a lot of hip mobility. They're getting into gymnastics in adult age or circus or something recreationally for hand balancing and fun, which is amazing. But if they've never really worked on any indirect, you know, groin and or hip flexor quad soft tissue work with stretching and or foam rolling or eccentrics, as I'll kind of show down here as well, you know, these things kind of catch up with them. So very similar to the shoulders. So maybe 30 to 60 seconds of quad and groin foam rolling, 30 to 60 seconds of a true hip flexor stretch, tucking the hips under, squeezing the glutes, and then 5 repetitions of a 5-second lower with a 5-second hold of split squats, because split squats allow you to really tuck that pelvis under and do a nice slow loaded dumbbell movement, which will help stretch out the quad, stretch out the groin, and eccentrically load that, right? So kind of going 5-second lower, holding the bottom, and then kind of quickly kind of coming up, or just standing up with 2 legs is fine. So again, errors that I see here is that someone is not really doing this every day. They're doing this maybe once or twice per week when they quote feel like it or when they have time. You really want to have that consistency over across the entire week. They don't want to push too much into pain. You don't need to hurt for this to work. It shouldn't be like you're really, you know, going crazy and killing yourself, but also we don't want to go super fast. So make sure you're doing these in a nice, consistent, slow, every single day kind of habitual routine. That will help open up the hips, right? So if we can open up the upper back, the shoulders, and the hips, we then have quite a bit less pressure on the lower back, and we also have quite a more of an even bend across the entire bridge or the back walkover or the front walkover, whatever your skill is trying to actually learn. So I would really start with those first 3 mobility things first, but then once we get a kind of good handle on those 3 things, or say somebody maybe has those all set, maybe it is just that groin, maybe it's just that, you know, the hip flexor, like I said, the quad is pretty good, but I mentioned the groin, maybe we need specific soft tissue work to the groin. So these are 2 that I really like. I like these adductor rock backs, right? So putting your hip in line with your knee, in line with your foot, and just rocking back and forth with a nice core brace the entire time. I also really like these sideways rocks, okay? So I really want to make sure somebody has a full dip. Now what this is doing in this position is it's actually putting more pressure on the anterior adductors. So the pectineus, the adductor longus can be in there as well, but also like the smaller groin muscles in here, which sometimes actually act as hip flexors from a position of extension. So people who are sprinting, who are running, who are doing a lot of extra curricular activities with jumps or leaps or dance or choreography, sometimes the adductors get extremely stiff. And, you know, the hip flexors, quads, you know, typically people know those are part of the equation, but I oftentimes that people have a really positive Faber test, which is our test for some groin stiffness. And I actually see that these are more beneficial for opening the hips and taking pressure off the lower back than maybe just doing the hip flexor quad work. So 2 sets of 10 for the rock backs or 2 sets of 10 for the dips. 1 second, again, every single day. Make sure the core is really braced and make sure that pelvic tilt is really tucked into quite a bit of a hollow with that rounded underneath to stretch the groin muscles, not the back. And then in this one down here, make sure that foot is not too close to the body. If the foot is really close in here, what will happen is the ankle will actually be the limiting factor for that stretch, and it won't actually be a full range of motion for the groin. So Aaliyah has her foot way across from her body, so she's really getting the end range of motion is being limited by her hip muscles and her groin. So that's kind of what we want to do. So if we go through all these mobility things and someone's feeling good, sometimes the true cause is actually that their lower back does not arch at all. So someone who maybe, again, has not gotten into gymnastics their entire life, they haven't done circus or dance or anything when they were younger, maybe they're getting to this when they're older, or maybe they actually are someone who's been in the sport for a long time and they've just developed a natural resting posture of overarched position, which we'll cover in another video. Sometimes what happens is that they're not really able to truly tuck their hips under, and all of the motion tends to come from their upper back, right? So what we actually want to see here is, can someone flex their spine right here? And you can actually see this a little bit in Aaliyah when she tries these in the other direction. She can't really move from her lower back. She does a lot of it from her upper back. So what we want to encourage is someone to actually go from a neutral position in a cat-cow and just do the arch position of this, right? So from here, dropping down and trying to actually get her lower back to be the thing that's moving, right? So we're encouraging here in an unloaded position, if somebody can't actually extend from their back or they're stiff, we actually want someone to develop some mobility in their lower spine. So doing a little bit of an arch here, and then this is another great one too as well, just to do some press-ups here. Most people typically do not have a lot of extension in their daily life if they're an everyday person. Younger gymnasts might, again, need some more motion to here and then spread the bend out across their entire body. But for most people who are a little bit older, who are getting into these things for the first time, they actually haven't arched their back too much. They tend to have, again, more of a flexion tolerance. They're bending over most of the day. They're kind of sitting most of the day, driving most of the day. So we do want to encourage a little bit of lumbar mobility here. So 2 sets of 10 every day is really good. Throughout the day is awesome if we could do it every day. Common things that we see that are problematic here. So one is they're not relaxed, right? They're really kind of high tension. They're bracing their core. We want someone to completely chill and just relax here. They're not breathing throughout this. The lungs can really help mobilize some of the upper back. So we want to keep that breath work going. And then again, similar to upper back situation we have is if someone does have a daily life or an everyday they're sitting for quite a bit, we want to get them, in a lower back support, have something in their lower back. We want to get them up moving around throughout the day, switch between a standing desk or a kneeling position or a sitting position, just rotating through those positions. Again, sitting's not bad for you. I just think that if we do something for too much too often, that's when it tends to become a little bit of an issue. So very easy to add these into as well. And again, if you're someone who's like, learning about, back handsprings, walkovers, front walkers, all that kind of stuff, you're in gymnastics or circus or whatever, we have an amazing 2023 Shift Symposium coming up. We're going to talk about so much stuff on floor, vault, beam, injuries, all this kind of stuff. The first day is all medical care. Really great lecture actually happening on lower back pain as well, along with many of the growth plate injuries and OCD, elbow, Achilles issues. The second day has a separate, 9 lectures for the women's gymnastics side, 9 lectures for the men's gymnastics side. And the third day is all about strength and conditioning. And a lot of the things that we're talking about here are built into those lectures. So 30 speakers, 3 days. It's really going to be a not miss opportunity. All of the lectures will be recorded, uploaded to a drive, so you can view them whenever you want for the rest of your life. You get all the handouts, all the PDFs, all the Q&A sessions, everything is yours. So if you want to check out that, head over to shiftmovementscience.com/2023 Shift Symposium. But if you enjoyed this lecture and you just want to kind of, hear this and enjoy it, that's totally fine too. You could drop down below and just hit the comment notification button, the subscription bell, just to get new content all the time. But also if you do want to win tickets to that along with that free course that we're giving away, hashtag 24shift in the comment section right now. And the first 24 hours of this video coming out is the way to do that. So hope you all enjoyed this video.